All right, peace and power elevation. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Live in effect. Hold on. All right, so peace and power elevation. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today's topic, I want to put my focus on public relation. So public relation is one of the most important aspects that we all need to know, especially when it comes to dealing with media. All right, so media advertisement. The reason why public relation plays a major factor behind all these different things. Okay. And the people oftentimes the people that work in the public relation fields, they're not always in the forefront. They often work behind the scene. So this week, Monday and Tuesdays, which I normally be on here, I want to put my focus on African Americans who worked in the public relation fields. So if you guys don't know, that public relation can be consist of journalism. It can be consist of mass communication like syndicated radio, news network, working with big corporation, etc. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get into the definition. All right, so what is public relation? Public relation is the practice of deliberately managing the release and spread of information between individual or an organization and the public in order to affect the public views. All right, so to break that down, basically, it's the bring about advertisement to the public. But how do you get people's attention? How do you get people to support an organization or to support a business or corporation? Through advertising, through marketing. And that's where public relation comes in, because they have to look at, well, how do we get people to relate? So, prime example, when you see these Sprites commercial, right? If you notice with the Sprite commercial, majority of them are so-called minorities, like African Americans, Hispanics, etc., and they're young people. Why do they do that? Because they're trying to get the attentions of the younger audience, and particularly those who are minority. Because if you get those type of audience, right, it will help your business to become more successful. It will give you more exposure. So it will build your economics. So they have to get something that people can relate to. These McDonald's commercial, even the Burger King commercial, as you know, there's a lot of celebrities now that's with Burger King, and they're getting notoriety with Burger King. Why? Because they know that it will draw the attention of the younger audience. So when you get the younger audience attention, it benefits your profit. It helps you to build your brand a lot better. It makes you stay relevant. Hey, brother Anthony, how you doing? So that's why public relation is important. And so when you hear about all these propagandas that be going on, these commercial advertisements, just know that it's the people that's operating behind the scene. Just know that it's the people that are public relations specialists that's doing the work behind the scene. They play a big part in that, and how things are going to be advertised, what the person is going to be saying, how the person is going to be looking, and what the person is going to be doing, and etc. And how you're going to go about gravitating to the main audience, etc. How you're going to bring about attention, all that stuff. That's public relation. So it's very important that we know these things. And today I want to talk about Roy Wood Sr. So Roy Wood Sr. was a American journalist, but he was also a radio pioneer. He owned a radio station called the National Black Network, which lasted until 1995. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So Warwood Sr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on September the 15th, 1915, and he died on October the 15th, 1995. He was a radio pioneer, a civil rights journalist, a commentator, college professor, and entrepreneur, and was the host of the nationally syndicated TV Black's Views on the News. He was a co-founder of the National Black Network, one of the first broadcast networks to produce programming specifically for African Americans. Excuse me. So his early life, again, like I said, he was born in Atlanta. He's the son of Rosalie N. Limer and Warwood. Okay. And Wood's father, a physician, died when he was 3 years old. His mother, who attended Morris Brown University, was one of the first female Black CPAs in the state of Georgia. His great-great-grandfather, Sam Wood, was born circa 1790 in Africa. Wood grew up in Chicago. Okay. Wood was a graduate of Wendell Phillips Academy High School in Chicago. In 1937, Wood received a BA from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1946, Wood received an MA in communication from Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. He later studied at Columbia College, Chicago's College of Fine Arts in radio announcing and newscasting. All right, so this is how he got into his career. So in 1932, at the age of 17 years old, Wood began his career in journalism working for the Jack L. Cooper in Chicago. And from April of 1949 to July of 1950, in his first full-time job in radio, Wood was a staff announcer at WJVA in Mishawaka, Indiana, on the morning sound on show Sunrise Serenade. From July 1950 to October 1953, Wood was staff announcer at WIBC Radio in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he was the first African-American to hold an announcer position on a major network affiliated of Mutual Broadcasting System. In addition to weekend evening newscasts, he hosted recorded shows and was part of the radio serial The Old Timer. From November 1953 to December 1954, Wood was a disc jockey at WJLD AM/FM in Birmingham, Alabama. He was the first African-American radio DJ at the station. And from December 1954 to June 1957, Wood was program director at DJ at KATZ AM in St. Louis, Missouri. So he'd been working all these fields as a radio pioneer. Okay. So check this out. It also says that from July 1957 to June 1959, Wood worked as a staff announcer at WHFC Radio in Chicago, a foreign language station, and then goes all the way down to where he was working as a announcer and personality on WGES Radio in Chicago, 1959 to October 1961. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of skip all this down here, but anyways, it goes on to say from July 1968 to June 1970, Wood was at Channel 26 TV in Chicago, where he produced and was the anchor of the Western Electric sponsored Black's Views on the News. During his time from 1968 to 1971, he also wrote and produced a radio documentary series, Footsteps to Democracy. All right. It says from April 1963 to May of 1972, Wood was news network and editorialist at WVON radio in Chicago. Wood was a notable newsman at the radio station. During this time, Wood reported on the experiences of Black platoons in the Vietnam War and the racism they encountered, and often brought news back to loved ones in Chicago area trying to reach their deployed soldiers. Right. And in 1972, Wood co-founded the National Black Network, the first Black-owned radio network. As a national news director and vice president, he was responsible for recruiting newsrooms talent. And he was the host, again, he was the host and the anchor of One Black Man's Opinion, a syndicated series on the National Black Network that aired over 90 stations across the United States. The series focused on the Black experiences in the U.S. Cold Hard Facts was a daily talk show that Wood hosted on WVAS at Alabama State University. And then it also mentioned where in 1971 and 1972, Wood was a professor at Malcolm X College in Chicago, where he taught journalism and broadcast speech. Wood was an associate professor in the School of Communication at Howard University in Washington, D.C. He also lectured at Northwestern University Medill School of Journalism and his alma mater, Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. Okay, so he was the news director at WENN WAGT radio in Birmingham, Alabama. He also worked as an insurance agent and broker. And he nobly helped Don Cornelius. So this man, Ray Wood, helped Don Cornelius to get his start in the entertainment industry. So if you don't know who Don Cornelius is, he was the founder of Soul Train. The Soul Train syndicated TV and the awards. So Soul Train was a program that lasted 35 years from 1970 to 2005. It was a show where you had artists, particularly Black artists, coming on and showcasing their talent and building, just getting into the industry, trying to build their career up, building more recognition. And the reason why he started that show was because back in those days, many Black people had a hard time getting on the white the white network to showcase their musical talent and be able to be appreciated for their work as an artist. So he wanted to be able to make sure that African Americans have something that they can enjoy and jam to. So his shows host people a wide variety of audience artists from different backgrounds, artists that were into the R&B, artists that was into soul, jazz, hip hop, mainly rap, etc. So those are the type of genre that he catered to those audience. Again, that works into the public relation. So he himself had public relation skills, okay, because he knew that his audience was going to be African Americans, and he had to figure out how to target those audience. All right. But let me go ahead and continue on reading. So Wood notably helped Don Cornelius get his start in the entertainment industry. Cornelius was a policeman. So remember, Don Cornelius was a police officer in Chicago, okay? But when he met Ray Woods, he was the one that helped him out and showed him how to get into the industry, how to understand public relations, okay? Understanding the skill, because the fact that he had skills in mass communication and journalism, he took Don Cornelius under his wing and taught him the ins and outs and how to get into the industry and how to gravitate to his audience, etc. So yeah, Don Cornelius was a police officer at Chicago Police Department who stopped Wood for speeding. This is interesting. He stopped him for speeding. Wood remarked on how pleasant his voice was, saying that he should work in radio, give him his card. Wood was a mentor and ended up hiring him to be an announcer, news reporter, and disc jockey on WVON. Wood lent Cornelius money for what would become Soul Train. So it was Ray Wood that loaned money to Don Cornelius to start his show, The Soul Train. So Ray Wood is the reason why Don Cornelius was able to have Soul Train, because he took him on his wing, he mentored him, and he even gave him some money to start his own syndicated show, The Soul Train. And it started in Chicago. Soul Train started in Chicago. So one day I'm going to do a topic on Don Cornelius in relation to this subject, but sometime maybe later on tonight or tomorrow. But anyways, Don Cornelius would not have been where he was at if it wasn't for this man. This man believed in him, obviously. This man told him, you got a voice that can fit for radio and television. Because Don Cornelius had a very smooth voice. He had a very smooth voice. So he told him, look, I'm going to help you and I can get you on. So it was actually Ray Woods that supported this man financially. Okay. But yeah, Wood was a mentor and ended up hiring him to be an announcer, news reporter, and disc jockey on WVON. Wood lent Cornelius money for what would become Soul Train, first at WCIU TV and then as a popular nationally syndicated TV show. And so his personal life, he was seriously injured in an automobile accident. Wood said that the injury led to his mother taking him to talk to a psychiatrist to address depression that was manifested by withdrawal and low self-esteem. At the time, Wood already had an undergraduate degree, so the psychiatrist noted his voice was pleasant and suggested going back to school to become a radio announcer. Wood was married to Louise Hertz Wood, with whom he had two sons, one of which is Roy L. Wood, an anchorman. He later married Joyce Dugan Wood, with whom he had a son, the comedian and the Daily Show correspondent, Roy Wood Jr. Wood died of prostate cancer in Birmingham, Alabama at the age of 80. Okay. So these are his membership. He was an Alpha Phi Alpha. Okay. He was part of the Chicago Urban League. Also, he was part of the Concerned Parents of South Shore, NAACP, National Association of TV and Radio Announcers, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Black Media Reps, and YMCA. All right, so it's a long list of things that he done did. So he spent all his life dealing with radio and television, but his main thing was being a radio announcer and radio pioneer. So, all right, so you'll see at the references at the bottom of the page. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm just going to leave you guys with this. Public relation is very important, because without public relation, people would not be updated on what's going on around them. They would not be informed. People would not be able to know people would not know anything about media. Let's just put it like that. You wouldn't know anything about media. You wouldn't know anything about radio if it wasn't public relation. So you can't have all these things incorporated without people who are specialists behind the fields. Okay. All right. All right, then. So, but real quick, I want to show you guys the information about the National Black Network. Um, so it was founded here in Atlanta, Georgia. The National Black Network was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, in 1973, and it closed its door in 1995. All right. So it was founded on July the 2nd, 1973, as the first coast to coast radio network wholly owned by African Americans. All right. So going over here, it says the early years, the idea for a national black network was conceived by former ABC radio and mutual broadcasting system president Robert Pauley in 1969 as a way to utilize mutual's contracted but unused network lines for the benefit of African Americans. The goal was to tie together the 117 black oriented radio stations in the country. Pauley, a white American, was unable to organize the niche of African American oriented news business and therefore turned to Eugene D. Jackson, an African American electrical engineer working as a consultant raising capital for black business investments. Sidney L. Small, a former employee of ABC Radio Network, was recruited to join the group. Mr. Pauley finally became frustrated with the difficult task of raising the $1 million in capital needed to start the operation and abandoned the effort. Jackson and Small, along with Dale Racy of Mutual Broadcasting System, preserved and finally launched the National Black Network on July the 2nd of 1972 in New York City with 25 affiliates. NBN aired 5-minute newscasts at the hour and sportcasts several times a day at the half hour. NBN also aired a wide variety of public affairs program and a live overnight talk show hosted by Bob Law. In 1972, there were only 17 African American owned radio stations, even though there were over 125 African American oriented stations in the country. And by 1976, Eugene D. Jackson was the only African American on the 125 board of directors of the National Association of Broadcasters. And it says with over 80 affiliates associated with NBN, Jackson wanted to see more radio stations owned by African Americans and therefore conceived and started the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters in Atlanta as a complement to his position on the NAB board. Within 15 years, the number of African Americans owned radio station moved to almost 50 through the creation of PodCap, a capital raising institution formed by the NAB and the captains of the television radio industry. In the early 1980s, NBN offered a second news service, American Urban Information Radio, which broadcasts an hourly newscast at 50 minutes past the hour, but concentrated on in-depth reporting. By the early 1990s, NBN merged with its main competitor, the Sheridan Broadcasting Network, formerly the Mutual Black Network, to form the American Urban Radio Networks. And it goes on to say the first news director was Roy N. Wood Sr. from the famed Chicago radio station WVON, the voice of the Negro. In 1975, Ray Wood was replaced by Vince Sanders, another Chicago area talented and veteran of local black formatted radio. Sanders served as vice president of broadcast operation at NBN until its demise in 1995. Right. And it says he joined NBN following 3 years with NBC News and its Chicago-owned and operated station WMAQAM. Before NBC, Sanders was a talk show host for 8 years at WBEEAM in the Chicago market. His final assignment with NBN Broadcasting included vice president and general manager of its New York City station, WWRLAM. All right, so just to leave it there, okay, that's just a little background of the National Black Network. Again, it started from 1973 and it ended in 1995. Okay. All right, with that being said, that's all I have for this afternoon. So I will come back later on and make sure I focus on the topic about public relations, journalism, and syndicated television shows that was operated by African Americans. So later on, I want to talk about Don Cornelius and Soul Train and how that came into the picture. Yeah, that's going to be my topic for later. So make sure you guys check that out. All right. So with that being said, it's your girl Tiffany, and I am getting ready to log off. A peace and power elevation be to all of you. Please be safe. Be careful out here. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Deuces. And thank you, Brother Anthony. I appreciate you for coming through. Thank you for your support. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you. It's always a pleasure. Be safe.